Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's preview as Ulster take on the Lions in the fourth round of the United Rugby Championship, the last round for South African teams until they return to action in November after the autumn international break. For Ulster, they will have one more match next weekend. The South African sides will be sort of completing their 4-week tour of Europe, and the only sort of sides still looking for a victory in terms of South African sides are the Stormers. So the Lions obviously having got off to a decent start against Zebra, then didn't have a particularly good time against Scarlets and probably should have beaten the Glasgow Warriors last weekend. And I think they would have taken quite a lot of confidence out of the game going into what is going to be a very difficult clash against Ulster tomorrow. And a couple of interesting selections by the Lions, particularly when you look at last week and what worked and what didn't work. Very, very strange that the backline is unchanged, despite it probably being what sort of let the Lions down through a large period of the game, whilst the forwards have been rotated, which I don't mind, but I just don't understand quite why the forwards get rotated and the backline doesn't change at all. And a couple of big players being left out of the side, which sort of continue to really sort of irritate me. But they went down against Glasgow Warriors 13 points to 9 last weekend. Ulster beat Benton 28 points to 8, so with a lot of confidence. They were playing at home last weekend, obviously at home again this weekend. And in terms of the sides that we'll be taking to the park tomorrow, before you do look at them, please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Now, we'll start with the Ulster side, and this is how they will line up for tomorrow. Sam Carter will captain the side next to Alan O'Connor in the second row. The front row, which will be taking on a pretty decent Lions front row, probably their first choice front row, will be Andrew Warwick, Rob Herring, and Tom O'Toole. And then O'Connor and Carter in the second row. And it's a very good loose show. Matty Weir, Nick Timoney, and David McCann. I really like Nick Timoney. From what I've seen from him so far this season, I'm very impressed with his ball-carrying abilities. He gets to do a lot of work throughout the game, and I've been quite impressed with him. Nathan Doak and Billy Burns are a very good combo when they want to play well. And I think that if they pitch up tomorrow night, they've got the capacity to really sort of put some players into good space. I think that this Lions backline are kind of there for the taking defensively. You know, I do worry about some of the defensive structures from a Lions point of view. And I understand that, you know, new coaching setup, new defense coach Jacques Fried will take time before we start to sort of see exactly how we want to play. But I think until then, I think there are lots of fragilities in and around that Lions backline. I think that, you know, Billy Burns has a good game tomorrow. I think he's putting in the likes of, you know, Stuart Moore, James Humes, and in the pacey wings of Ethan McElroy and Craig Gilroy in lots of space. And I think that could be a very, very big issue for the Lions. And then the last man in the starting 15 is Will Addison at fullback. Off the bench for Ulster, Bradley Roberts, Eric O'Sullivan, and Ross Keynes with plenty of experience across this bench as well. Kieran Treadwell coming off the bench, the number 19 jersey, Sean Reddy, and then the rest of the placements will be David Shanahan, Michael Lowry, and Ben Moxham. So it's a good Ulster side, and you know, playing at the Kingspan, I think, is a very difficult place to go and play. And whilst the South African sides are still sort of getting used to life in Europe, it's the first time the Lions will be playing in Ireland. So that's another opportunity for them to sort of experience what it's about and come up against one of the sort of the strongest sides in the league. So in theory, you know, all sort of odds and all sort of factors kind of point to Ulster being quite comfortable tomorrow night. But as I said, momentum and confidence are a strange thing. And I think last weekend I was very relieved almost as a Lions supporter in terms of being able to see a side which could compete and arguably probably should have won the game had there not been for a dodgy referee decision in the first couple of minutes when Glasgow Water tried that shouldn't have stood. But it's still remains a very inexperienced Lions side, and I think it's a Lions side which doesn't sort of strike me as it doesn't give me a lot of confidence as this Lions side, if I'm being brutally honest. So if you have a look at it, the front row, Steve Tori, Yakovasaki, Carly Sardi. Now this is one area that the Lions have been pretty good at throughout the entire season. They've dominated up front. This Lions pack, which is something that I was a little bit worried about, have fronted up and physically dominated every single pack they've come up against. The reason that we were in the game against Glasgow Warriors is because this pack did dominate up front. Scrum times, you know, we looked dominant almost every single scrum. Lineouts have to improve. Yakovasaki, PJ Buerta leave a lot to be desired with in terms of their lineout ability, but I think Steve Story, Yakovasaki, and Carly Sardi will give a very nice scrum platform. I think Carly Sardi at the moment has to be knocking on the door for Springbok colours just through his brutal strength in terms of scrummaging. And, you know, with Frans Mahherbe not being available for the end of the year tour, I don't think there are too many tight heads in South Africa who are better scrummagers than Carlos Sadi. Maybe not the most mobile around the pitch, although he's happy to carry whenever he needed to. But he came off the bench last weekend, and he's absolutely immense at scrum time. Ruben Schoolman, who sort of has his days at the Lions, is a little bit inconsistent, but getting a lot better. Keeps his place in the number 4 jersey. But Rand North comes in for the injured Peter Janssen from Furen, who I thought has been playing quite well, actually. I thought he looked like a very nice addition to the Lions side. Unfortunately, getting injured and won't be involved this weekend. But there's been a change in the loose trio. Sibusiso Sangweni, who had a nice little cameo off the bench, replaces Jack Creel, who is rested for this weekend, which I don't mind. Jack Creel, unfortunately, has not played a lot of rugby this year, and very sort of excitingly has looked pretty good in the first couple of games. So I don't really mind a bit of rotation. I think Sangweni deserves a bit of an opportunity to sort of get out there and show what he can do. And he's next to Vincent Tuka. And Ruan Strauly, who I thought probably had his best game in a Lions jersey last weekend. Always been sort of a little bit 50-50 when it comes to Strauly, whether he will be able to step up to this level, but he looked a lot better last weekend than what we've seen previously. Andre Warren and Edawi Fayun will continue their halfback combination. I thought Eva Fayun was good last weekend. Very, very surprisingly good in terms of a player playing out of position. But I thought he looked very, very comfortable at number 10. I did say in the preview, I thought that in many ways, fly half might suit him because, that lack of pace he might have, which sort of counters against him in the back row. You can kind of get away with that at fly half. You don't have to be the fastest player in the field to operate at fly half, but he kicked very nicely for poles, and I thought he looked pretty assured. But in terms of pace, somebody that doesn't lack any is Ras Maklana, and he's next to Stian Pienaar in the two wings. Birger Wendell continues to partner Manuel Ras. And this is the selection I don't understand. You've got one of the most exciting players in Wandisile SIMELANE in the country, not of the Lions in the country. Somebody who is, destined to play international rugby. He was one of the most exciting players on the ball, probably in the entire competition. Was an unused sub last weekend, much to my disgust, and continues to be on the bench this weekend. And I really don't understand it. And they try and sort of justify it by saying that they want to be able to bring on X factor towards the last stages of the game. And I understand that being on the bench doesn't mean that you're a bad player. I'm the first sort of person to sort of say, look at the three marks, look how well they've used their bench. But last weekend, the Lions didn't even bring any backline players on, except for Matt Moore, who came on after the 80th minute had gone just because of an injury. So that's kind of where my issue becomes, is that last weekend we did not put a single backline replacement on, and now we're saying that we want to use SIMELANE off the bench. It really frustrates me because I think he is someone that can turn a game on its head, and can put players into space. And when you are playing against a side at home, you can't afford to go 20, 30 points behind and then say, right, well, let's see what he can do. I think in a game like this, I think it'll be very surprising if we manage to sort of build a lead or stay within sort of 7 points. So back your best attacking player, in my opinion, at number 13. Let him see what he can do. And 2 games in a row to be on the bench. We didn't even see him last weekend. It's just a waste of talent. This is somebody who, had he played all 4 URC games from the start, could have been pushing for a box call-up at the end of the year. He's on the radar. He's been part of an extended box squad already. So he's definitely within the plans, but he needs to play rugby, and he's just not. And it kind of reminds me of Super Rugby last year when he wasn't playing, and there were all the rumors flying around that he might leave. And my worry is if we reach a similar situation, does he start looking and maybe saying, well, maybe I won't continue with my contract. Maybe I will look elsewhere, and we'll have another sort of Tyron Green situation. Divan Rousseau, I wasn't particularly impressed with last weekend. He made a couple of very basic errors, and I think he has to cut that out of this game. Probably also a little bit likely to be in the starting lineup. Could very easily slot with Fred Zellinger at 10 and move Ivo Pillium back to 15. Off the bench, PJ Buerta said needs to have a much improved performance. Ruan Drea is covering Lucid, as he has been lately. And Asanate and Tlabakanya, the very promising and very young tight head, will get an opportunity to scrum in Ireland. That's pretty much the reason that he's been named ahead of Yanni Duplessis. Willem van der Slaes comes into the side, as does Emmanuel Tuka, Vincent Tuka's younger brother. So, lots of talent and young talent within that loose trio. Warren van den Berg, the live wire scrum half, has to come on, I feel, and has to sort of be able to give him a decent chance. I really do rate him. I think he's a very, very promising young scrum half. He's got a very good turn of pace and looks for the attacking opportunities. And, him and SIMELANE and the Ras Maklana, those are players who bring X factor, bring excitement. And if we want to try and score tries and stuff like that, we're going to need players like that, I feel. I don't think it's going to be as easy to try and sort of physically bully Ulster. I think there will be a much better side up front. But let me know what you think is going to happen in this game down in the comments below. Do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. We will be live for this game at this stage. I will be taking you through it, so come and hang out with us tomorrow night. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.